A quick reaction to Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid.
Today, let's get to Real Madrid. First of all, Xabi Alonso, as the guys were saying, he already knows coming into this role the pressure that he's under, but this is the first time he's truly going to feel the heat with this result.
And just as I mentioned Alvaro Carreras, and I mentioned Inhausen, and I can mention Jude Bellingham, and I can mention a few players, if not all the players or most of the players from Real Madrid, another person who's getting a little reminder that this is not automatic has to be Xabi Alonso, who made a big decision today in including Jude Bellingham in the starting lineup. Now, on the face, criticizing Jude Bellingham being on the starting lineup, you would say, well, that would be crazy. But is it crazy? A player who'd only played 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and hadn't really shown that he was ready for the big time 90 minutes against Atletico Madrid in this sort of environment. And guess what? Who made that decision? It's Xabi Alonso that said, yeah, this guy is going in. In doing that, you're now trying to figure out on the run against Atletico Madrid in this high pressure, in this derby, all the emotional intangibles that go into this match, what the structure of your team is going to be, because you actually haven't played with Jude Bellingham and Arda Güler and Tchouaméni and Valverde. And what's the role of Güler? Güler has been playing deeper. Now he's on the right-hand side. How all of this comes together? How does this all work? Well, that has to be done in the training facility, not out in the open against Atletico Madrid in a game of this magnitude. And so what we saw, and it wasn't surprising once you saw the starting lineup, the team was all over the place.
So I totally get what LA is trying to make a point, that when you play one of probably the biggest game of the season, this is a real first test for Xabi, and he failed miserably. Like, he was out-tactiqued, he was out-coached, he lost every battle against Simeone, who we think is probably one of the most overrated managers in the world football history, and we are out-coached by that guy. This is insane, and this is not acceptable. I don't care what you say about Xabi, that this is his first match, maybe we should be patient, but this is not acceptable. There are a lot of decisions he has taken today. It's ridiculous. Like, being a manager of Real Madrid, it could be his dream, but it's not like a playground for you to do some testing. You have to come here with preparation. You cannot randomly get here and do random things. You have to do with plan. And today, whatever he has done, everything went against him. Being said that, I'm much more calmer right now compared to when it finished. After the game was finished, I was boiling. I was so mad. I was so angry. I'm like, this is why the reason we have removed Carlo and got Xabi for is wasn't Carlo. We never lost with 5 goals with Carlo against Atletico Madrid. Anyway, going back to LA's point, I think LA has made a good point that Jude is one of the best player, right? However, he just came back from injury. He played 25 minutes last match and he was really sharp, and I told you in the last video. However, when you go play against Atletico, it's kind of risky to play a player who did not play with other players for a very long time. So far, in our starting lineup, we had some consistent players. Those players probably should have started today again to be safer. However, at the same time, when you are Real Madrid, no matter who plays, you have to adapt. Today, my biggest complaint against Xabi is that it's not what he started. I don't have much complaint playing Jude as a starting lineup. I don't have no issue at all. I think that's okay. Yeah, it's not probably the best decision, as LA pointed out. However, it's not the worst decision. Here's why. Yes, you have a game plan. You came here. Now you are seeing it's not working. And it's not working since the start of the match. You see, our defense were all over the places. They have no clue how to respond to the pressing by Atletico Madrid. They did not know how to play from the back. And we were struggling. And you cannot blame our attackers for that. It's all about defenders. Like, all the individual duels that you are supposed to win, you are losing all of them. So that means the coach has to make a drastic decision, right? Okay, this is not working. I have to change something. I did not see that. This is why I'm so angry with Xabi's tactics today. For example, Atletico's main philosophy today just to cross and score some headers. That's how they were creating chances. And we did not do anything. Like, how do you stop? First of all, you have to stop from the source. When they're trying to cross from the left or right, there's no player pressing them, closing up the space. You have to first focus on the first source. Then you can think about, okay, now I have to stop the crossing. And our defenders, they look like they're high school defenders. They never played football before. They're like, we're just standing here. We're not doing anything. We will just let Atletico do whatever they like to do. And as a result, it could be history for Atletico Madrid today. And one of the most embarrassing days for a Real Madrid as a club and as a fan. I have never seen getting demolished by Atletico this way in my whole life.
There was no structure to Real Madrid. While we focus on how good Koke was and Pablo Barrios and this, if you put this on paper and you're thinking this midfield of Real Madrid against that midfield of Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid should dominate, and they did not dominate. They lost the ball all the time, frequently. The pressure of Atletico Madrid, they could not handle. They got stretched, they got disorganized. Atletico Madrid creating chances everywhere, winning the ball in advanced position, swinging the ball in, and then the defending I've already touched upon. So yeah, to your point about Xabi Alonso, there is a conversation to be had about Xabi Alonso because this team structurally, tactically, was not ready to play today.
Yeah, let's get to some of the...
Again, just to repeat what I have said many times so far this season, one of the main issues I have noticed from this season is that our midfield is not talking to each other. There's no cohesiveness. There's no all together. Have you seen the video of Arteta where he's talking about the connection, chemistry? We're missing that at our midfield. Our midfields are so independent. They don't talk to each other and there's no collaboration between each other. Like our midfield versus Atletico midfield, as Ellie said, you compare player one by one, there's no competition. Our players would be ahead any time. However, if you look at our performance today, not visible. Tchouaméni, Fede, so isolated. They don't know how to defend. They don't know how to do a good pass. And there's literally no creativity other than Arda Güler, who was playing at right side.
Individual performances that we saw from Real Madrid as we bring our boys from pitch side back in. Sid Alvaro Carreras has barely stepped a foot wrong in the early stages of the season, but he had a rough night tonight.
He had a very rough night. He was obviously up against Giuliano Simeone, but also Barrios was going over to that side a lot and doubling up on him. And he, as well, I maybe not quite use the phrase that Ali was going for, but he was overwhelmed today. And he was watching people coming at him from all angles, and he didn't really know what to do with it. And he has had a very good start to the season. I think we all knew, in truth, that this was the first really big test for Real Madrid. Now, I'm reluctant to say the other games don't count, but we do know that Real Madrid and clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona as well get judged on a handful of games a season, not on the average ones. And I just want to read you some numbers. I did grab my notebook, I admit, to double check this. The teams that Real Madrid have beaten this season before this weekend's games were in 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, 13th, and 4th. So these are all teams they should beat, because not least the team that's in 4th is Espanyol, who are surprising everyone, who probably won't end up the season that far up. Now, with that, I don't mean to say that nothing they've done is valuable. Of course it is, and I think we've seen structure, I think we've seen an idea, I think we've seen the beginnings of what Xabi Alonso wants them to do, and I think we have seen very good performances from Alvaro Carreras, but he hasn't faced this kind of test, and today, as Ali says, or maybe not quite the way that Ali says it, he wasn't quite up for it.
Not these.
Okay, this is why I like Sid. Sid brings some facts so that we are not biased towards our feelings. However, when you look at the numbers, those doesn't lie. Those are the real fact. What Sid just said, yes, we have been doing so well. And I also have said that we're doing so well. We have seen a lot of positives from Xabi's games so far. However, until today, there's no real test. As he said, most of them are relegation contenders. So it's expected that we will win them. So any win against them is not something remarkable. That should be normal for Real Madrid. And coming to a real test today, that's when you get exposed. This is a game that determines what's your level. Are you ready for the champions? Are you ready for the Champions League? Are you ready for the top teams in the world? And today, it tells us we are far from ready. In fact, last few performances might have made us over optimistic. It kind of hinders the reality of it kind of hinders our vision from the reality of this team. We are not as good as we thought to be. Carrera, fantastic player, right? Who was superb. But today, when he got real test, exposed. Now, LA truthfully pointed out that Carrera was exposed. However, it's not just Carrera. Every defenders, every midfielders today were exposed. Forget about Carrera. Okay, he's new to this team. What about Hyson? What about Chua? What about Carvajal? What about Fede? What about Bellingham? Non-existent. So if you see that every midfielders and defenders are struggling, that means there's a big issue. It's not just Carrera.
There's no this ambience, no this atmosphere, not a team that brings you that intensity. And we are focusing on Carreras, but Vinicius Jr. was not there, no help at all. So in the end, it was 2v1 every single time. Of course, a long ball to Osorno that he was lying there. Why he was doing that? Because probably he knew that he was going to win every single ball. But also Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham come from a long period of not being able to have a rhythm of the competition. Not because he's not ready, not because he cannot play at this level, it's because he's not ready to face a team that you know that in this kind of games is going to give you 120%. The rhythm, the speed, the power, it was not there. And sometimes you Bellingham rely a lot on that. Of course, his quality, his vision, his ability to arrive in second line, but the physicality that he provides on box-to-box midfielder, it wasn't there anymore today because it's normal. He hasn't played for how long? 2 months?
Yeah, no, he basically has played 28 minutes before tonight since the Club World Cup. And actually, that operation that he went under after the Club World Cup was one that was long overdue because he'd been having that shoulder problem for well over a year. And so,
as I already said, Jude was a ghost today. Literally has done nothing. Like he was totally missing. Maybe only contribution I can think of is the goal Arda scored. He took away a few defenders and that gave Arda and Mbappe free space. That's the probably only contribution. Other than that, he did nothing. He was not visible at all. Being said that, there are also a lot of tactical mistakes from Xabi. Okay, starting lineup, I don't give any mistake or any blame to Xabi. I don't see any specific wrong with this starting lineup. I think this is acceptable. There's no problem with that. The subs, that's where the problem begins for me. Some of the subs Xabi made, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, Militao is probably taken out of the injury in first half. Okay, I can see that. Then you're taking out Carvajal. I don't think he was injured. He just wanted to make some tactical change. When you're behind, you want to score, you're playing Asensio as a right back. Does it make any sense to you? It doesn't make sense to any logical person in the world. You can play Asensio as a right back against a team like Levante, who doesn't have much attacking power. When you are winning, everyone to defend makes sense. But when you have to score goals, you are playing him as a right back, absolutely makes zero sense. Aside from that, there are also other tactical mistakes that doesn't make any sense to me. You bring on Rodrigo and you still keep Vinicius on the field, who was again went missing again after stellar performance against Levante. This has been happening for Vini. If he plays one good match, next match he will play invisibly. Like he's not there, and we're still playing him despite he's not playing super. So Vinicius, Rodrigo, Mbappe, and you have Franco. It doesn't make sense. All attacking, there's no midfield. Who will give them the ball? What about Ceballos? Why? I told you in the last video, Fede and Ceballos pivot could be the best given the situation we are in. Because Ceballos can distribute the ball from the back and Fede can do his job. Tchouaméni, despite he's very good defensively, he has almost zero creativity. He's not very creative at all. And I don't like the way he played even today. Did he do anything today other than conceding goal and losing headers? No. And here's the worst tactics by Xabi. When we're behind, we want to score goals, he's trying to cross and there's no one in the middle. You want to cross when? When you have a tall strikers like Joselu, which Xabi had like Schick when he was in Leverkusen. Now we don't have anyone like that. So what's the meaning of crossing? You are not doing anything from those. You're just waste of time. And also, Xabi's tactics kind of nullify some of our best players in last few seasons. One of our best players was Fede Valverde, who was fantastic. We haven't seen Fede taking one single shot since Xabi joined. Why? It has fantastic shot from distance. That means you are not using him for his full potential.
I think it's not surprising he wasn't at it. Just wanted to pick something up very briefly, by the way. We're talking about Alvaro Carreras, the left back. Remember when Atletico Madrid won the derby 3-1 here a couple of years ago? Do you remember how they won it? All of it was the high ball behind Fran Garcia, the left back. Fran Garcia basically didn't play again after that season, and he was the focal point of it. Now, I don't think the same will happen to Alvaro Carreras, but it helps to put it into context that this is a particular type of test that you're going to face. And to be fair as well, it's a very difficult one.
It is.
Yes.
Another point that Atletico played the way they play against Real Madrid. The way they play today is nothing new. We have seen they have played a similar style when Carlo was here. Like do crossing, they know that we're vulnerable in our crossing and in our defending, and that exploited. And today is no exception. My biggest complaint was that, okay, Carlo is kind of like old school coach. He doesn't use the video to see the what can be improved. I expected this from Xabi, that he will look into the previous matches between Atletico and Real Madrid and watch and what's wrong, what kind of mistakes we have committed so that he can improve on. It looks like he haven't done any homework, because if he has done the homework, we would not see what we have seen today. Anyway, enough for today's commentary. Please let me know what do you think about our performance today and what kind of changes you would expect to see from the future.